What happened?
They just
Our
stopped.
intro cut short. What the hell's going on? No, I gotta play it over. That's nonsense. Let's try that again. Much better. Much better. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Total Male Introspective, the TMI podcast. It is episode 110. I'm Joe.
I'm Jonesy. What's going on, everyone?
And we're down a man. JC couldn't join us due to work purposes. And he's here with us in spirit. So if you guys don't know the deal, we are Tuesday nights live, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. All of those locations. You can check us out at Linktree, and that is linktr.ee/the TMI podcast. Everything's there. You can even get links to Spotify, iTunes, and all the places I'm trying to catch up uploading our backlogged episodes because life, man. Life. Things started happening again in 2020, so I'm busy. So I promise I will get them out more timely. I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I got to do my best. I think I'm going to tap Jonesy in to help me with that. Get these episodes up on iTunes and Spotify and everything a little bit quicker than I have been. So I think we covered it all. Check us out on those Spotify, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Patreon, if you guys want to throw us a few bucks every month, patreon.com/the TMI podcast. That's right down on the bottom of the screen. For those of you who don't know how to spell Patreon, patreon.com/the TMI podcast. Make sure you guys join us Tuesdays, 9 p.m. You can join the discussion. Jonesy, what do you got for us this week, man? Why don't I hand the torch over to you?
Well, first and foremost, this week we had our first NFL Sunday. We had the Giants playing on Monday. We had the Jets playing on Sunday. I know that we don't just have New York viewers, but we had plenty of action going on, starting with Thursday night with Kansas City getting that win, defending Super Bowl champs. But how great was it to have a regular Sunday back? How just a sense of normalcy.
I mean, somewhat. The vibe wasn't really the same. We went out. We had got a table hanging out the front of one of the local bars, Whiskey Creek. Shout out. So we kind of had. It still didn't feel the same, though. You said normal, but it really wasn't. It was.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't 100%. It wasn't 100% normal, of course, but it was a little sense of normalcy. I mean, I was hanging out with people again, and watching, clearly social distancing with masks, of course, but was able to start yelling at the screen and rooting for my fantasy teams once again.
Yes, you were.
And highly, highly rooting for my fantasy teams.
Yes, you were. Jonesy was loud. Jonesy was loud for sure.
You definitely heard me. But it was great to be able to be out and hang out for a little bit. I thought our seat was perfect. We went to Whiskey Creek, had a table that was half inside the bar, half outside the bar, and it was kind of perfect because we were able to kind of distance ourselves from people who technically weren't following the rules, and there were times where we could just, yell across the table and, we had that barrier between us. So it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to have to lock that up every week.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have to make sure that we do that.
Most weeks. It gets a little expensive being out all the time for football. So that's some good news. The Jets sucked. The Giants sucked. But otherwise.
Yeah, well, you know what? The Jets played the Bills, and the Bills are really, really, really good. Shout out to Dan Santora is the only Bills fan that I know. Shout out to him if he's listening.
Nice was a Bills. Nice is a Bills
Oh
fan.
yeah, but Nice is a Bills. Nice is also a Bills fan. Shout out to Nice if he's listening as well. But you know,
Congrats.
these guys,
Congrats on your team not sucking anymore.
Nice young quarterback. Got pieces around him. You know, the Bills should make some moves here. I mean, make some noise in the playoffs. The Giants played a very, very old. How old did Ben Roethlisberger look in that game?
Jeez. Yeah. He's not.
He looks like it's 17 years in the game.
Yeah, he doesn't move like he used to.
Definitely not. But he looked very, very old. But of course, the veteran quarterbacks always kind of get it done when it becomes crunch time. And at the end of the first half, there was definitely some crunch time where Ben went right down the field on us. Kind of sealed a lot of the Giants' fate there. However, glimmer of hope. Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes had a 17-play drive down the field. Yes, it ended in an interception, but he was balling up until that point. He was balling up until that point, man.
Yeah, man, but you got to finish. You got to finish. Lots of quarterbacks out there get down to the goal line without finishing. You got to be the finisher.
But you know what? Glimmer of hope there. Hopefully that's a sign of progress, because the Giants couldn't move the ball at all last year. So even with Saquon Barkley.
Well, he could move the ball, but one guy can't win games.
No, definitely not.
Speaking of football, there was a UFO. Well, I think it was debunked. People saw UFO in Jersey and they were freaking out. And traffic was stopped on the highway and everyone was videotaping. I think it was the blimp.
Yeah, it might have been the blimp. I think it was debunked. It was cool. It was cool for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, here come the aliens right on cue for 2020. We're like, next.
Yeah, really.
Like, pandemic, presidential election, California's on fire. I mean, I can't even. There's more than just California. The West Coast is on fire, but. Yeah, there's just so many horrible, terrible things happening in 2020 that I think people were just so ready for it to be aliens.
Yeah, we're just like, yeah, this is definitely aliens.
Right on cue.
Right, exactly. If there's a movie about 2020 coming, that's definitely in the script.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a UFO sighting, but most people are saying it was a blimp. But it's funny that people were videotaping it and being like, "Oh my God, UFO!" Like any football fan looks up and goes, "That's a freaking blimp, guys."
What would be more? I guess more believable that there was a UFO over MetLife Stadium, or Pittsburgh, or the Giants beat the Steelers at MetLife Stadium. What's more believable?
The UFO.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, and I'm a Giants fan.
I know, but the Steelers really pulled away towards the end there.
Oh my God!
What else we got on the notes? You wanted to talk about Nick Cannon and Eminem. I don't really know what's up with that. So
apparently Nick Cannon was on another podcast, or he was on Facebook saying that.
Be careful; those podcast conversations get him into trouble.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's gonna. He got him into trouble, but it also, gave him a lot more fame there. So Nick Cannon, apparently, he said that he would look into and would love to end the beef with Eminem, because years ago. I guess Mariah Carey was saying some stuff about Eminem, and then Eminem clapped back to Mariah Carey, and that's Nick Cannon's girl. So Nick Cannon got mad and now Nick Cannon got mad at Eminem because he was trying to defend his girl, and they got into this beef. But apparently that Nick Cannon has expressed that he wants to make amends with Eminem. Which I personally would be all for, because I think having Eminem on Wildin' Out would be probably the most watched Wildin' Out he's had.
He'll never do that.
You don't think so? I think he might. Why not? What's Eminem doing right now? He came out with a good album, And what's he doing right now? He's not doing
I don't
nothing.
see that happening, but you can hope. You can dream.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're talking about just pure money, Nick Cannon should make amends with him and coerce him to come on to Wild 'N Out, because Eminem is a freestyle rapper, always has been, and so he would do great on that.
I see why you'd be excited about that. Yeah.
Yes, it would be very, very exciting. I think it would be. To have him play all those freestyle rap games would be a lot of fun with those guys.
Yeah, no, it would be fun, but I think that that's like a slim chance. See what I did there? See what I did there? I'll see myself out. All right. What other good news do we have out there? Matt, as a teacher, Chrissy Teigen decided that she was going to tweet. She will cover people's Amazon teachers, not people. Not that teachers aren't people, but just teachers specifically. You OnlyFans chicks can keep your wish lists to yourself, according to Chrissy Teigen, just teachers. So she said she would buy people's wish lists for the teachers' wish lists for them. And I wanted to just say that I think she's just trying to put something positive into the news after her little escapade with some of her tweets needing to be deleted about how she found little kids attractive.
Yeah, it's probably something you want to push down to the bottom of your feed.
Yeah.
That would probably be something you want to push down to the bottom of your feed, yeah. But there's something good might come out of this. I mean, come on. You got a whole bunch of teachers right now that are struggling to get their remote learning materials and stuff that they need to do remote learning. And you got somebody who's willing to donate. I mean, even if you don't like Chrissy Teigen, my Amazon wish list might be up there pretty soon. Shout out to my Amazon wish list. If you want to donate, let me know.
Right after you hit Patreon. Right after you hit
Patreon.
You can go over to Jonesy's wish list and hook him up with green screen, new mic, whatever he's looking for.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, might as well do something good and have something good come out of it. It's a win-win for her image and you know, the teachers and the students she's going to be serving.
Right. Yeah. It's a positive thing, even though I'm not a fan of things she's tweeted in the past. This one was solid. Speaking of remote learning, Jonesy, this is you prepped this show right out of your own notes from life.
Pretty much.
When Jonesy was like, hey, we should do a show about school starting again and how things are different. And I think we're going to touch upon COVID affecting school, but then we're going to talk about in the past, we've talked about it affecting sports, but we weren't sure how it was going to be handled. So I think we're going to discuss a little bit of how it was handled in the NFL. And let's start that 2-week clock on the NFL to see how quick they shut this season down, because I hope not. But realistically,
I mean, they literally been testing every day, and it's been craziness over it. I sent you there's a good Freakonomics. If you listen to the Freakonomics podcast, shout out to Freakonomics. Freakonomics had a great podcast where they were comparing the NFL to the NFL opening to public school opening. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much uncomparable because they have, the NFL has, pretty much unlimited resources compared to schools, which are very limited.
Wait, you mean taking money away from the public school system doesn't make it run better?
Yeah. It's shocking.
Just like some
other places that we're taking money away from.
Yeah. Other places that we expect to function better with less money. Seems to have worked in the education system. Why not?
Yeah,
that's sarcasm, folks. That's sarcasm. In case you didn't catch that. Yeah. If you need to reform something, reform it first, then reallocate funds.
Then we can reallocate.
You can't take money and then say work better. It's just you're doing it backwards. You're doing it backwards.
And just a little footnote there. I understand where they're coming from with that, but I understand where they're coming from with that. To reallocate the funds to social services, and I'm sure we'll end up doing a whole episode on this in the future. but they're kind of doing it backwards at this point. So we'll see.
Eric chimed in and said, I don't follow sports, but do any of the athletes comment on their experiences? Are they being censored? You mean in regards to COVID?
Or are they talking about the social justice stuff that they're trying to do?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you meant, Eric, but if you clarify in the comments.
I'm going to assume he's talking about the social justice stuff. But as far as I know, the NFL is pretty much doing it by team. So different teams are doing different things. And different teams are either doing stuff together as a team or they're doing stuff individually and supporting each other that way. Mm-hmm. The MLB did something as they're doing it, by game. He's talking about COVID. Okay. So
you had to.
I know. I got it wrong.
That's like, social justice. I got it. I'll talk about that.
He's talking about COVID. So from my understanding, and a lot of it's coming from the Freakonomics podcast that I listened to, plus some other stuff that I've been reading. From my understanding, the NFL had a false outbreak essentially in preseason. So essentially what happened was this one testing spot where they sent all the tests in Florida from all the places in the NFL. So they sent them to this one testing place.
That was a smart place to send it.
Well, they're using a whole bunch of different labs. This is just one of the major ones.
Right.
So they got a whole bunch of
Florida's really got it all figured out.
So they sent a bunch of the COVID tests from a bunch of different teams from around the country to this one testing place, and somehow they all became positive. So they figured out it was the testing lab that gave the false positive rather than the actual test itself, because essentially what they found was the container that they put all the tests in, like the lid of it had COVID on it already. So all the ones that they put in were tested positive.
Sounds about Florida. About Florida.
So the testing lab was the one that messed it up.
Well, but Eric is talking about their experiences. Have they commented on their experiences? Are they being censored for commenting on their experiences? They are. I do know the NFL has now. They all have to wear tags. They're like tracking.
I did see that. Yeah,
contact tags. I have not heard anything from any of the players really about that. So I don't know if they're being censored or they were just asked not to talk about it, or if it's just so common and it's just they just don't feel like talking about it. I'm not sure. And I do know that they are getting tested regularly, but we'll see how it goes in a week or two, because we don't know how this happens, because the MLB what is this, JC? Hey guys, first time listener. I was wondering, have you ever heard of the Freakonomics podcast? It's pretty good, and I think you would like it, especially you, Jones. JC, you're busting balls from outside of the chat window here, man. You got to be on the stream. So, all right, let's get down to the meat and potatoes here. We were talking about schools and COVID reopening.
So schools clearly do not have the resources that the NFL does, or most of these, or all of the sports leagues. So schools have a very daunting task ahead of them to try to control an outbreak, to contain an outbreak. Why can't schools open? I mean, it depends. It depends on who you ask. I mean, the right right now is saying, in general, the right is saying that schools should be wide open. Right now, if you talk to anyone in the left, they're saying that schools should be closed. And there's a lot of anger that goes towards that. And parents are frustrated. Teachers are frustrated. Administrators are frustrated. Everyone's frustrated with all of this.
Stop. Teachers have such an easy job. They got to stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, folks, sarcasm.
But just to really kind of break this down is what we're kind of going with here and what we want to really talk about. So we live in New York, and right now our governor is Governor Cuomo. as many of you know, across the nation, because he was all over the airways when COVID broke out. And whether you like him or whether you don't like him, what essentially he said and what his mandate was, that it's going to go by district. So the district essentially gave the decision back to superintendents within whether they want to do fully remote, hybrid, or if they're going to go back full time. Mm-hmm. My school in particular, it decided to go fully remote up until October. Many schools in Westchester decided to do that as well. There are schools across the nation, across the state, that are doing hybrid. There are schools across the state that are having their kids go back in full school, in-person school. So a lot of the parents that I've talked to really want their kids to go back to school, and that makes perfect sense. The teachers want the kids to go back to school. The parents are saying that, they're worried about their social emotional well-being, which is 100% true. I mean, we're worried about everyone in the country should be worried about their social emotional well-being, because we've all been kind of locked down. We've all been quarantined for 6 months now. It's starting to finally open up, and it's been slowly opening up over the past 2 months, but for the most part we've been still kind of quarantined for a long time. Mm-hmm. And we want the kids to go back to school too. The only thing that the teachers are really asking is that we have a plan, and we want to be able to go back as safely as possible. So What does that mean? That means following the CDC guidelines for social distancing, for wearing masks, for having the correct filters and correct ability and the right ability to clean your school when the students are there, when the students are not there. That's basically what the teachers are pretty much asking for. And some schools have the ability to do that, and some schools do not have the ability to do that. And what we're finding, and what, from my understanding from across the teacher scope of the people that I've talked to, is that it really varies about who has the ability to open their schools hybrid, fully, and whether they're going to be fully remote. And because it costs more money in order to do the cleaning. You have to pay the custodians more time. It costs more money to get all the supplies that they need. It costs more money, and it costs a lot of money to get a kid to get devices. But we'll talk about that in a little bit, access to the internet and technology. But from a teacher standpoint, we want nothing less than to be in school with your kids. We want to be in school with your kids. This remote learning has taken all of our curriculum.
They want to be in school more with your kids than you want them home, I guess.
Yes, 100%. Because, I mean, if you think about it, we have to take all of our curriculums and we have to redo our entire curriculum. Some of us who've been who've been teaching the content for years and already have a plan, basically taking everything that we do and turning it upside down and figuring out how we can deliver that content remotely to your students in an effective way, which is an extremely daunting task, because any teacher knows that different kids learn in different ways. Sure. And so we are able to access all of those learning styles with your student, with your kid, and all of your kids in-house when the kids are in school. It makes it so much easier. But accessing all those learning styles remotely is an extremely daunting task. And most of us teachers have worked more than we've ever worked. And that's including, spending time till 7 p.m. on a regular school year without a pandemic.
Right.
To try to figure out how to do this.
What are these politicians pushing for? You said the right before, you said the left. So Now, we live in New York, which is Democratic state, so there seems to be a little bit more of the caution.
Mm-hmm.
JC, who should be on the screen, isn't, said Cali gave all that stuff to parents and teachers for free. It's about time to consider a move to the state before the annexation.
Yeah. Well, my school district was able. My school district was able to do that. That's pretty hilarious about the annexation.
It's just funny that JC invited people to move to Cali. Like anybody wants to do that.
Oh man, we can have a podcast just about. We can have a whole episode just about
the
California.
irony in the fact that he wanted people to come for free stuff. It just like is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that's
yes, JC. Cali sounds great.
But my question is, talk a little bit. You have Joe. You have your kids. How are your kids doing with this remote learning, and what do you see as far as like? I know we talked a lot about how the school district that you're in sent a 40, 50-page document to you to try to explain all this stuff. How did that, make you feel?
It was 84 pages.
84 pages of a document just kind to explain all this stuff. And you showed it to me. You were like, I have no idea, A, how to read this, and B, what the hell is going on. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, they had given us an 84-page PDF that was the back to school plan, the bus plan, the lunch plan, the recess plan for all, and it was every different age group, every different school level, so elementary, middle, and high school. There was hybrid plans. There was the hybrid plan, which they did put into action, which is the 1 or 2 days a week per student instead, and then the rest is remote. They did give the kids iPads. It is unfortunate, though, because they have like 8-year-old iPads that have been used constantly and getting passed from every year to a different student, or they keep using these old iPads. They're not updating them, which I get is expensive. So it's not like something they can just go out and do it on a whim. But it seems, for example, that the technology can be an issue because Layla, my youngest, her iPad just stopped working halfway through the school day yesterday.
Interesting.
And my wife was emailing the teacher, like, we're not trying to blow off the Zoom because the little ones have Zoom class in the morning.
And you're using the program, you're using the actual program Zoom, right?
Zoom.
Okay.
Then they take a 1-hour lunch and then they're back from 1 to 3 or something like that, 1 to 3:30, something along those lines. So yeah, there's already been hiccups with the tech, and I wonder what kind of issues they're going to run into when they start bringing the kids into school, because they are not bringing kids into school till Monday,
right?
On that staggered schedule with some kids coming in some days. So they're going to be doing not just remote learning, but remote learning and in-class teaching. I just don't see how a third grade teacher is going to be able to wrangle kids in school and online at the same time.
Right. So apparently what is supposed to happen, and I don't know if your school district is doing this. Apparently some school districts are doing this, some school districts are not. When they do go hybrid, they're trying to get the ability to have the teacher in the front of the room sharing their screen to a group of students that are at home, but also having a group of students that are in class. So the teacher is talking on a microphone, I guess, with a lapel or a microphone within the class. So they're teaching to the students that are in front of them, and there's a video of the lesson being done live for the kids that are at home, and it's happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Which, when you're a teacher and you're trying to
what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
They're trying to, but apparently it's when when we're teaching, it's not just teaching and delivering content. We're also interacting with the kids. We're also trying to keep them engaged and being able to talk to them directly, but also but also classroom management is a big deal. So like when we see a kid that's drifting their attention away, then we want them to snap back to our lesson and pay attention back to the lesson. How can we do that online without parental help?
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a transitional thing. It's going to take weeks for them to figure it out. I mean, actually, at the high school level, I think it's working a lot smoother for Cassidy, my older daughter. She just says it's a different Zoom link for each class, and you sign in at the time you would have to be in class.
Yeah, that's what my school is doing. That's what my school is doing. We're not using Zoom, though. We're using Google Meets and Google Classroom. So the Google Classroom just came out with this feature for the fall because they're trying to upgrade their system for all of this remote learning. Basically, what you do is you click a link at the top of the Google Classroom, and that link never changes. So they just once it's time for that particular class, you click the link, and then you're there, and the teacher's there.
Yeah, but like I said, I think this the high school level, it might, even though there's a lot more moving parts, I think because of the kids' understanding of technology, it might be better. I think it might work out better than the younger levels. I think the elementary level is going to be difficult.
At some level, a high school student is always given more freedom than an elementary and middle school student. And they're also given, they're expected to be able to do more. And the expectations are really high for them. So they're expected to be able to sit in class and take notes and do all those different things. Not that a middle school or an elementary school kid isn't expected to do that either. It's just at a different level. It's at a different instructional level. Yeah. So I could see the high school the high school having an easier time with all this stuff. But I teach middle school, and when I teach in middle school, I have my students on a Google Meet, and I just have that Google Meet basically running the entire day. And I teach special education, so they need a little bit more help than a kid who is able to do a lot more on their own.
Right.
So I just have that Google Meet open, so they can always come back to that Google Meet, and I can guide them to wherever they need to go.
Well, I think this also, as you had pointed out, ends snow days forever.
Yeah. Okay. So
there is no excuse for kids not to be able to sign in.
Yeah.
During snow days.
Big time, because I mean, this is truly the death of snow days, 100%. Because if you think about it, there's no reason to have a snow day, because now, and I believe, superintendents are going to have the ability to give snow days without having to worry about taking away from break, because if those can be instructional days, then there's no reason if those can be instructional days, there's no reason to have to make them up or do any of that stuff. So those snow days are essentially going to become a school day. So there's no reason to take away from the breaks.
Do they get longer vacations then? Do they get longer breaks then? Because then they were allocated 5 snow days a year or something like that?
Well, no. Basically the teachers union and the administration are the two bodies that negotiate that stuff. So they'll negotiate, hey, no snow days, but we're going to remote learn during those days.
Yeah, but I'm saying, remember in the school years when you don't use snow days, but you get 5 snow days? Are they going to make the school year shorter then by like a week?
No, they're probably – so usually it happens around Memorial Day. So like Memorial Day is built in that it's a 3-day weekend, but that's where they usually add the days if you don't use snow days. So like you'll get the Friday before off, and then you'll get the Tuesday after Memorial Day off if you don't use 2 of them there.
Well, I'm saying going forward, they won't need any snow days. So do they just permanently adjust?
Yeah, they'll just permanently tack them on. Yeah, you can just permanently tack them on, and then that'll be it. I don't think they'll end school I don't think they'll end school early, but they'll build it into the calendar.
Good point, Mark.
So.
Marco says, let's replace 5 snow days with 5 days of financial literacy lessons.
Love that.
I think they need more than 5 days. I think a lot of adults need more than 5 days. It's
financial literacy, yeah.
Cassidy, my oldest, said to me one day, she was going through her electives, and she's like, oh, these are silly. Like, some of them are silly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we have an option for doing your taxes? And I was like, you're right. That would be a fantastic high school level class.
Yeah. 100%.
Taxes and finance. And I mean, basic math. Once you're in high school with basic 10th, 11th grade, you're past the math you'd need to understand the financial side of things. Percentages,
100%.
And addition and subtraction, you would hope.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that's actually a good point, because it's definitely something that they're missing. They're lacking that sort of lesson at the younger levels, and right. Especially going into college. Holy crap! I blew so much stupid money on credit cards and stuff when I was in college. I'm sure my mom's listening, and she's very well, like, she's jumping up and down right now going, yeah, he did. But yeah, that is, I don't know. I wasn't dumb. I guess I was just naive into thinking like, I'll just charge it and then worry about it later, which is still a problem as an adult, but we'll talk about that later.
I got into that habit too. $30,000 later, I'm still paying for it.
Ooh, was that a semester? Was that a semester in school right there?
I got an education, and then I also got a lot of debt.
You got an education
on top of my education.
An education in credit cards. Yeah,
an education. I had to get an education in a street education in credit cards.
Yeah, well, I think that would be stealing them. Using them properly is what he was going for.
Well, I had to use them improperly in order to figure out. There she is.
There she is. Thanks for listening, Ma.
We appreciate
I'm better now for the most part. I have no choice. I have to be.
Yeah.
And I was 18, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to charge this, and she'll pay for it. I'm going to leave JC's comment off the screen. We just said to each other in the warm up lap, JC, we don't have to worry about swearing this week because JC is not on the live show. He broke a few records last show, which was 3 weeks ago. Sorry for the break in shows, folks. It's been a rough couple of months, as we're discussing now, and as all of you freaking know, stuff's happening. Lots of things are happening.
A lot of stuff.
I'm sure a lot of you are either busy with work because it's starting to ramp up again, go back to in-person stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe you are. A lot of things are starting to move along because we figured out, put on a mask, stay a little bit far apart, wash your hands or use hand sanitizer, and we can be places.
Yes.
Like Matt and I went to see Tenet in theaters. I bought extra tickets so we could sit. They put one seat. Actually, this will carry over to the school thing because they put one seat in between you and the other person in those big recliner seats.
Right.
But I would always buy one extra ticket so we get 3 seats.
Right.
Extra.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I've always bought an extra ticket every time. We've gone twice, and I bought an extra ticket both times so that we have that extra buffer so that people can't sit closer to us. But people are pretty good out there. We're able to do things, go to the movies again. I don't know if the bowling alleys are going to open up, but we're starting to become a little more fun again, I guess. The bars have their restrictions, but you can be there, so that's good. They don't close at midnight anymore, I don't think. So there's a lot of things that are happening. People feel safe eating dinner. Matt and I have gone out and had dinner multiple times, and it's good. I actually could go for some Haiku spicy peanut wontons right now.
Yeah.
So bad.
The best. That was
the point I was trying to get at was, oh yeah, JC was there too. That's right. You're not here. So are you really there? No, I'm just kidding. All 3 of us. It was a TMI field trip to see that movie tonight.
Yeah.
JC, we didn't purposely leave you out. We were just saying that because you're not on the screen. But I was saying that because in classrooms, how many kids can they really fit in some of these classrooms? And they have to spread them out.
Yeah. So the biggest problem, that's one of the big problems that schools are having, which is a reason why the hybrid model is going to be probably going to be going on for a long time. I would think that most schools are going to go to some sort of hybrid at some point, and then that's going to probably be it for a few months. The CDC says 6 feet away from each other. My principal and my school district, what they did was they went to every single classroom and building, a classroom within the building, and they figured out, using a tape measure, they figured out exactly how many humans, not just students, how many people can be in a room at the same time. My particular classroom, I can only have 13 people in my classroom.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, speak of the devil. And he shall appear.
Oh, look at this guy.
JC made it back from work in time to join us.
Yes, I did.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'm JC.
Better late than never.
Jonesy's probably still waiting for me to say, I'm JC. Then he'll go, I'm Jonesy.
Jonesy. It's been 10 episodes. You guys still haven't figured that out. I got the easy job. I just have to say I'm Joe and tell everybody about the info.
Yeah, there was an awkward silence between Joe saying hi and me.
Yeah, because he was waiting to interrupt you. So what do you want to chime in with about school openings and technology with the schools? What do you think?
I mean, the school openings have been a little crazy, but the way that we're doing it out here is a lot different. So, like, we don't have we have a statewide mandate where we have our schools are all online. And my kids are actually doing a pod right now. So they're doing regular school, and then they have a private teacher come in to teach them as well. Every day. I heard
about those.
Yeah, it's really great. And like the kids, because, I think someone was mentioning that the whole social aspect of interacting with like the kids is missing by not being able to go to school. And so that's like really important for like my youngest one, this was going to be her first year. And so to try to learn like on the computer was going to be difficult. And you kind of like miss those, like interactions that you would have when you are so young and your mind's impressionable. So it's been like a real like blessing to like just see her grow with the fact that the private teacher is amazing.
Also, the kids can't read yet at those young grades. Exactly. So kindergarten, first grade, they're learning to read, but obviously using screens, a lot of reading is necessary. Right. So it does add a trickiness to those lower levels, and also attention. And like they can't. I mean, third graders, second graders paying attention, and must. Good luck to those teachers. Hats off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have 20-minute breaks. Like we have 20-minute breaks every 20 minutes. We have a break. And then the kids have like designated like groups that they attend. So
is
like,
the pod is like when you're doing the pod. Is that after the remote learning or is it during?
Yeah.
So like
after.
They're coming? Oh, it's after. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we have this great teacher. She comes to our place every day. And like just teaches the kids from 12:30 till 4:30. And it's been like honestly a true like the kids aren't using their iPads after school is over. They're actually like reading and drawing. My oldest one, she wrote a book for me. She's like 6. And she
wow, that's great.
And like we were getting ready to have lunch, and she's like, "Oh, I can't finish. I can't eat yet. I need to finish this chapter." And I was just like, "Who are you?"
That's great.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
that's awesome. So, what else we got on our list?
So that's actually a good segment. Like, who does remote? What is remote? I mean, who does remote learning work for? So Vox came out with this with a couple studies. Vox is investigative journalism, and they came out with a study. They're finding that those who are introverts and those with ADHD and students that have have a bunch of school anxiety, it really works well for. It really kind of it gives them an easier access to the curriculum. And the reason being is because now they feel like they don't have they feel like they have the ability to interact with the teacher but not be embarrassed by the social aspect of having the students around them. They may feel embarrassed asking a question. They may feel anxiety about being wrong or whatever it may be. So they're saying that it's an easier time for them. Those with ADHD, they're saying that there's less distractions at home, believe it or not. And they also have their parents breathing down their necks. So in some cases, if the parents are able to stay home. So a lot of the kids who have ADHD have less distractions. They have less social distractions because they're not worried about their friends. Now, on the flip side of that, the kids that need that social component in order to be able to learn are kind of being left in the dust. So like, you have to know your student, you have to know your kid. Like the social component is huge for some kids. They like to work in groups. They like to talk out not only to the teacher, but also talk out the curriculum with other students. These are the kids.
What's the answer for number 4?
Yeah. But like those kinds of kids are kind of being left in the dust. So if you're talking about like remote learning is good for some kids and it's bad for other kids, but so is education in general. So like in education as a teacher, we try to figure out what works best for your kid. And that's one of the biggest things that we try to do is what works best for your kid. So if we know your kid is an introvert and doesn't like to work with other students, we may force him at times, but we know that the primary way he's going to access the curriculum is to do something by himself
or herself.
I mean,
or herself.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be? I think it's they, by the way.
Easy, California.
Do as a teacher is have an open conversation, because I don't know if y'all are going to be doing these like group sessions, right? And so like you should try to lump the people who need that social interaction to be able to be together.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So,
and that's one of the reasons that Zoom has become popular over Google Meets, over Microsoft Teams, and some other platforms, is because Zoom actually has breakout rooms, which is really cool because now you can kind of take an entire class and you can break them into different groups. So you can put like all the introverts in one group, you can put all the social people in one group, and they can interact, and all the introverts can kind of
putting all the introverts in one group may not be very effective.
No, but you can mix and match them as well. So like having the ability to put them in groups is really important. So you can kind of use that.
Oh, yeah, I need to make sure I have my like extrovert group at like 1 p.m. because I need a little pick me up. I know they're going to talk all the entire time.
I have one student that I particularly mute all the time on Google Meets, and she figured out that she could unmute herself. So she's been kind of unmuting herself, and then I mute her, and then she unmutes herself, and then I mute her again, and then she unmutes herself. It's been a whole back and forth thing. It's been crazy.
Right.
But
I can't wait for her to understand how she can mute you, though.
Yeah. No, they can't mute me because that's teacher controls.
Yeah, it's so funny that like teachers are now being introduced to like technology in 2020. I mean, just like Google Meets and like Zoom have been around forever. They're like, yo, there's this cool thing called a breakout room. I was like, yeah, it's called the Viper Room. But
yes, yes. Well, a lot of teachers are either afraid of or their administration didn't allow for a lot of innovation. Technology-wise, my particular class has been online for 4 years. So my particular class has been using iPads, have been using Chromebooks and technology for 4 years, and but a lot of teachers are just doing a lot of teachers are just trying to figure out how to put the curriculum online. Basically, we got 2 days and a half a day PD in order to put our entire curriculums online for the months of April, May, and June. So it was kind of crazy in the springtime, but a lot of teachers did the grunt work.
You know where we don't have teacher controls? Here.
Nice.
I have the teacher. I'm just kidding, Jonesy. I'm busting your chops, but I muted him.
Oh, this guy over here.
Just to mess up. I had to mute JC because the kids were rumbling, but no, I just thought that was just for joking purposes. I do actually care what you have to say, so continue.
No, I know. No, I hear you. Actually, that's one of the features. That's one of the features. I said this on Facebook. That's one of the features that I wish I could carry over to live teaching is being able to mute my kids when I need them to stop talking.
What do you think parents feel like, dude?
Absolutely. Just tap them on the head. Mute.
Go ahead, Jason.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't just stop at kids, by the way, for muting purposes.
That's a good point.
The kids mute button is called Benadryl.
Oh, yeah.
You sound like you have a cough, honey. No, I don't. Yeah, you definitely have a cough. Robitussin PM. Muted. I'm just kidding. Sarcasm. We don't condone drugging children all the time.
It's perfectly acceptable for COVID tests now.
That's another thing. COVID tests aren't as bad as people have made them sound. I got it done. It sucked, but it's just the same as getting a throat swab. I mean, a little bit less comfortable, but everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's horrible! I got my test and I couldn't breathe." Shut up. Quit your whining. And these pros are doing it every day. These NFL players are doing it every day. So I took us down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry, Jonesy. Back to you.
Okay.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good.
You know what's so funny is just like, Joe is this attractive looking man, and you ever notice that how he just like looks in the mirror or into the screen and the camera? He like starts checking himself out. He's like licking his lip, doing a little bit of this.
JC, let's go back to that part where you said I'm an attractive man. I mean, we can repeat that.
Not deny it, but I'm just saying I like it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure my bald spot's not showing, and it's not necessarily. So
It looks good, That haircut you got 3 weeks ago is still there.
It's still fresh, right? It's still hanging in there.
Super jealous by that.
Yeah, it's
still so like in terms of teaching, right?
Yep.
How have you felt so far about it?
Have I felt? I feel much better about it currently than I did in the springtime. In the springtime, it was extremely difficult because none of the kids were used to it. None of the teachers really were used to it. I found myself, because I was one of the leaders in my building with technology, I found myself helping all of the teachers to try to do the basics, and spending my time doing that. And then also, which I totally loved, I didn't mind doing it, but it also took a little bit of time away from my kids. And my kids it was really, really difficult for my particular cohort of kids. I teach special education to get online. And it was really, really difficult for them to do that. But having the parents on board now and being able to kind of walk them through it, the fall has really, right now I have all my kids online, which has been a big achievement for me and my particular cohort of kids.
That's great.
Which has been really good.
Yeah, I know this isn't Freakonomics or anything like that, and you love quoting from them, but do you have any like best practices to like give like teachers that you picked up and like differences that have
for teachers?
Yeah, from spring to to fall right now. I mean, it doesn't just have to be teachers, but, like also, if you have any tips for parents as well.
Yeah, so the one thing I always tell parents, and actually this kind of applies to everyone involved, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, whatever it may be. Remember, we all just went through a huge trauma. we all just went, this pandemic had us locked down in quarantine for, many, many months. We just went through a whole, and people are going to react to that trauma in different ways. And the shutdowns affected everyone differently throughout the country. I mean, it's been a really rough road for a lot of people. So I think, teachers, parents, kids, high school students trying to get into college, give yourself a little bit of a break. You're doing the best that you can, and everyone's doing the best that they can, from top down. And it's just remember, we've all gone through that trauma. So if you frame everything within that and understand that first, I think it'll be a little easier to kind of, understand where the teacher's coming from, understand where the students are coming from, and understand that the parents, some parents are going to be with their kid the whole way because they can stay home. And some parents are not going to be able to do it because they're essential workers, or maybe they had a parent pass away during the springtime. And this is really kind of bringing that back up.
Man, like when complete norms, right? Like opposite ends of the spectrum. You're like, oh, maybe they're working. Maybe a parent died. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just a single parent. You didn't have to say they died.
Yeah, well, maybe they're a single parent. Yeah, maybe they are a single parent. Maybe they're trying to do the best that they can for their family as well. So I think during this period of, especially the remote learning part where you're not really with the kids, I think my principal said it best, and my principal actually retired at the end of the spring. My principal said it best in the spring. They were just like, do no harm right now. Do no harm. If you can give a kid a break, do it. If you can, make that extra phone call to see how the kid's doing that you haven't seen in a while, do it. Do the best that you can. And that's all we're asking for. And we're all, when it comes to parents, when it comes to students, when it comes to teachers, just do the best that you can. It's not a perfect system. It's not going to be a perfect system because we're not years within this system. Just do the best that you can. As far as parents are concerned, some best practices. As far as the parents are concerned, set a routine for your kid and give them lots of encouragement. So have them log on at the same time every day. Have them go to classes at the same time every day. Have them, and give them lots of encouragement, saying you're doing a good job. Even if they're not necessarily doing a fantastic job, you got to give them that encouragement so they keep going. Parents, it would be really helpful if you gave the teachers encouragement too, because we're working our butts off. Teachers, we have to give encouragement to our students. We also have to give encouragement to the parents that are working their butts off because they're not teachers and they're just doing the best that they can as well. So if everyone if everyone framed it through that mindset of we're all just doing the best that we can and we're all coming off of this trauma, then everything will be understandable what we're going through.
All right. That was a nice bit of information for those people out there. I hope everybody heard that. And Jonesy, even though you've been holding the torch for a little while now, it is your last word. This time. We're an hour and 1 minute.
I think that kind of was the last word right there.
Was it? You don't have anything prepped for us?
No, I actually don't, because I got caught up in something right before
that was good. That was perfect.
I think that was my sign off there.
Okay,
Man.
So then I will take
Stop
JC,
then.
JC, I'm going to let you chime in with anything you have before we close out. You got anything for everybody? You were late to the party.
I mean, I'm just happy to be back on the show right now. I mean, we were off the air for a couple of weeks. We were all dealing with our own personal issues, but we're back. So yeah. We missed you.
And we only got you for 16 minutes, but hopefully next week we'll get you for a full hour.
Oh, man.
What?
Oh, nothing. I'm not going to curse.
You were gonna make it weird. He was gonna make it weird. Of course he was. So why don't you guys go give us a follow at our social media and everything. Linktree/the TMI podcast has it all for you. The Twitter, the Facebook, which Facebook is our prime avenue to reach you guys and for you to reach us. And it seems to be where most people are viewing. So facebook.com/the TMI podcast, if you're not already there. Instagram, JC keeps the memes flowing on Instagram. And we like to have a little fun just because, we're a podcast. Doesn't mean we can't have a little fun. And we do talk about serious things, but not all the time, right? We're gonna lighten it up once in a while. So go check out the
first podcast episode that we didn't get political.
Well, we touched upon it for a second while you were gone, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, which candidate do I insert a joke after that comment?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get away from that sometimes. It wears you down, man. It does wear you down. All the back and forth. So, broadcasting live across most of the social media platforms and YouTube every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Donate to us at patreon.com/the TMI podcast. And I'm still updating, but I'm in the process of getting our backlog stuff on. I got one up. I got 2 more to go. And then we'll be all caught up. And then you guys should get it immediately after these shows. I'll just put it right up every Tuesday or Wednesday. And that's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the major podcast providers. Just look for the Total Male Introspective. Yes, look for Total Male Introspective. And hashtag join the discussion. Make sure you comment, and we will try to share your opinions as we did earlier in the show. I'd like to thank JC for finally joining us. I'd like to thank Jonesy for his insight on all of the teacher stuff. And I'd like to thank myself for
looking good.
For looking good on camera.
Looking good.
And we'd like to thank the fans and listeners. I know there's only a handful of you guys at a time. We do have about 20 people that are listening on the podcast, and then the live show we have about 100 people revolving door coming in and out. We'd like to get those numbers up. So when you guys see our show, just share the video for us. That would be awesome. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.
See you later.